Anthony. Uh,
Okay.
Originally, when I went to move here, I really like living here. It's laid back for the most part. Uh, Everybody can live the lifestyle they want, except some people think they need to tell you how to live your lifestyle. But the big deal was I was told by the real estate broker that I bought my house with, or actually we bought the property with, that we were on the third largest aquifer in the country. That's a lot of water. It was also in the Chamber of Commerce literature. It was in the information from the town. And
We're on the third largest aquifer where the ground is unstable. That's why I'm moving back.
So it was being touted here. And even today, there are still people in this town that believe we're on the third largest aquifer, and they don't understand what all the hubbub is about. But we're not even on the, it turned out a couple of years after I moved here that I discovered we were not even in the third largest aquifer in the state. And today, water levels are dropping. We have some serious issues with the amount of population we have, and our commissioners are looking to bring in another 19,000 homes when we only have 11,000 now, 8,000 of which are occupied. So if our water levels are going down now, think of what another 19,000 homes will do.
And we don't have enough jobs to handle the people we have here now. Could you imagine another 19,000? The only thing you're going to get is service jobs in supermarkets and restaurants. But other than that, you're not going to have any strong foundation of an economy here. And it happened already. I mean, our governor has turned around and says that we recovered from the last great recession that we had, but that's not true. We still have empty homes here in Pahrump. I think we had last year 1 building permit for a new home. This year we have 29. That's not growth, especially when you have over 2,000 homes that are empty because they were foreclosed on.
Yeah. And you know, one of the great things about moving here, though, is the people who live here. Man, my first experience was shopping at the local Smith's supermarket. And I was looking, at that time I was on the Atkins diet, and I was looking for heavy cream.
Didn't work.
Couldn't find it. God will get you, as he gets everybody. But I didn't know where it was. So I asked this woman, you know, if she knew where the heavy cream was. We had a 20-minute conversation. You know, and it's just that kind of place. Everybody is so open and friendly, except for a few. And it's those few that control what goes on in this town.
And there's the problem.
Yes.
The word control. Nobody's supposed to control anything.
And the people here don't pay enough attention to what really is happening. They read the newspapers, but the newspapers are worried that they won't have enough advertising in order to stay in business. As a matter of fact, every newspaper in this county, including the newspapers in Clark County, are owned by one company. So you're only going to get one message. And when I hear, oh, well, we're really independent, you know what? They must think we're pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But when you got one owner and one publisher, there's the Tonopah Times, the Pahrump Valley Times, the Pahrump Mirror, the Las Vegas Review Journal, all these different publications owned by one company, and they're actually in Henderson and Boulder now too.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have one publisher. One publisher. You think there's not a coordinated effort here? We're seeing it in the election data that comes out. We're seeing it in the things that are reported in the newspapers, and we're seeing it in their use of what's going on with the water here in Pahrump and in that county.
Yeah.
And they have no regard, the government has no regard for the question of how much water, how much of a population can we sustain with the amount of water we have. You see it in Vegas. They put in another pipe to suck water lower out of the lake at Lake Mead in Vegas because the levels are dropping so much.
And the levels go up and down, and they keep saying it's going down and down. Over the years, it has gone up and down. you have more snowfall in the Rockies, so that year we're going to get more water and everything. People just don't understand. See, the problem with most people, they think the electricity comes from the socket in the wall. They think the water comes from your tap. Well, it's got to come from somewhere. Here it comes from our well. The electricity comes from wherever it comes from, Valley Electric, where they get it out of California. People don't understand how things work. And that's why when they vote for certain things, if you don't know how it works, your vote may be going the wrong way. The problem is the people who control things are the ones who give you your opinion on how you should vote. That's a problem. You have to do your own research. And that's why we invite people to come on, because there's people that know more about things than we do. And we may know more about something else than that other person does. So it's important. The average person gets their opinion here, and that's, with us, and that's how everything works properly. The problem with water situation here is they put language and words into a law or a statute, and then they tell you what that word means. No. When you open a dictionary and look up a word, what it says in the dictionary is what that word means. You can't turn around and put it into a regulation and say, no, that word doesn't mean that. A word can only mean one thing, and the government can't tell you what that word is. It's the dictionary that tells you. So if you take the words out of that rule and regulation and look up what those words that they put in it mean, and then you go to a meeting and you turn around and say that word means something else, well, that's total manipulation and control. You can't turn around, a legislator or a commissioner or a DA can't tell me what a word means if it's different than in the dictionary.
We live in a town that's about 365 square miles. And when I first came out here, I'd stay at the hotel overnight, the motel. And at night before I'd go to sleep, I'd go out, and it was so quiet here. You could see the stars in the sky at night. You could see the Milky Way here. There were very few street lights. And you would look out over the valley, and it looked like this place was packed with people, because everybody's house had a light in the front. And then in the morning I got up, and I looked out, and I wondered where everybody went. It was so empty in comparison to the vision at night. Mm-hmm. But everybody here that owns a 1 acre parcel of land has a well. And people who are smaller parcels, people with smaller parcels say, well, we don't have a well, why do we care about what happens with the water? What they don't realize is the water utility company providing their water is getting it from the same water place that we get it, a well.
Exactly. Right.
And because they're not, one day they're going to find out that the wells have to be deeper, and they can't go that deep because after a while it gets very, very expensive, or the water utility is going to raise its rates, and everybody will have to be on a water utility. Not a good thing for this community.
No. It will cost too much money, and the reason why a lot of people moved here, like myself, we moved here to live a rural lifestyle. When I was looking at a place to move to, I wanted to know, is it on a well or is city water? And I didn't want city water, which it's not the city, it's actually a private concern that has it.
The state engineer, when he was down here 4 or 5 years ago, said that Pahrump had the best water in the state. We want to keep it that way.
Exactly.
We do have a recharge rate, but we're using more water annually than we can recharge with, and that's why the water level's going down. And don't just ask us, talk to people that have lived here for 30 years. They'll tell you that their wells have gone down lower also, and they're very concerned about it. But these commissioners, there's only one thing that they seem to be concerned about, and that is bringing more housing into a development area where we don't have enough water to sustain that housing.
And-
That's an attack against those who are here now.
And one of the problems is they feel that the impact fees they're gonna get from these houses are gonna pull them out of the debt that they're in. But growth does not pay for itself.
Actually, the money they're gonna get will make them look good for a year. But after that period is gone, now they're back to square one again.
Well,
And you're absolutely right when you said.
Right, they'll turn around and figure another, see, that's what the problem is. Nevada is a gambling state, so they're gambling that something's gonna turn around in that year that they corrected, that it'll keep going. And it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna get enough of people here to keep that growth going, and we can't sustain the growth because now you have problems for electric power, you have problems for water. Water is the key thing. You could live without electricity, you can't live without water.
This is very true.
Okay, you can't, water is the, and a lot of reasons why people came here and bought an acre of land or 5 acres is they wanted that rural lifestyle. They wanted to be able to grow their own food because for better nutrition and everything like that. And that's just part of some of their hobbies, and their hobby is getting food out of their hobby of gardening. Now, if you have a problem with water, you can't do that. Now, what happens to a person? Like, I'll give you, for instance, Andy has these nice trees, and he has some vegetation in the back, and he has some dogs and stuff like that. Now, what happens if they restrict the amount of water you could use? All of this investment that he made on his property and his time to take care of this stuff is thrown away because it's all going to be dead. And it's going to go back to the original desert situation.
Well, there is one solution to that problem.
What's
And
that?
that is we just ignore what the elected people are doing and allow them to just suck up more water with more straws in the ground. And when it becomes a catastrophe because you've reached the level of water that you have to now go outside of Nye County or go up and haul water in either through a pipeline or trucking, we'll be like everybody else. And I don't think people came here for that. People came here because of what it was, not what they're trying to make it.
Exactly right. There's no way that this was, we had people that wanted to make this an incorporated city. We don't want any of that. We didn't, most people don't want big government. They don't want regulations. That's why they came here. I came from Staten Island, New York. Staten Island was like Pahrump in the 50s and 60s. That's why I didn't go to Vegas and I came here. So what happens is you get people from outside of the area that came from big cities and they say, well, we need sidewalks, we need street lights. Why? That's not what this community is all about. If that's what you wanted, why did you leave where you were? Well, the crime was too high and the taxes were too high. Thank you. So now you want to bring everything that you had there here, so the taxes are too high and the crime will be higher. Why did you come here to ruin the place? When I came here from Staten Island, I didn't want to convert this to Staten Island. I wanted it to stay as Pahrump.
We have people that have moved here with their kids, and then after they moved here, they complain there's nothing for their kids to do. What? Of course, there's plenty of things for kids to do here. Maybe your kids don't want to do those things,
Right.
but you should have thought about that before you moved here.
Right.
Don't come here and say, oh, you've got to do all these new things because my kids can't go swimming in the summertime at a public pool or something like that. Well, it didn't exist here.
The problem is when people move into a new community, they do not do the research.
Their homework. That's
Okay,
right.
I had a friend of mine when I was living in Stanley. He said, I want to move to Florida, but how do you know the area is good? I says, you know how you know the area is good without doing that much research? He says, how? I says, you go to the local hospital on a Friday and Saturday night to the emergency room and see how many gunshots, how many stabbings, how many acids in the face. If you have that problem there, that's not a community you want to move to, and it costs you nothing to do that. But it's simple things like that when you do research. When I came here, my question was, do you have earthquakes? Do you have hurricanes? Do you have tornadoes? No, no, no. Okay, that was my first step and say, okay, now I'll go further.
There are some great rural communities to move to. This is one of them. We just don't have the ability to be able to bring more people in. At least not the way the water situation is. And I don't think there's any way they can create more water without more expense, more regulation, more control. And that, we didn't come here for that.
And right now, we can't even sustain the population that we had at the height. We
Yeah.
can't. We have 3,000 empty homes here out of 11,000. That means, why would you build more when you can turn around and buy a house for a third of what it would cost you to build a new one? I don't get it.
Yeah.
But the builders don't make any money that way. See, the problem with everything is money. When it comes to government, if they're not getting more money, they can't grow. If they don't grow, they don't have power. Well, we don't want that. We want a simple, nice lifestyle. People are screaming, oh, we need new roads. You know what? We don't need new roads. Drive slower. Do you want to pay for those roads, or do you turn around and want to drive slower? Don't come here if you want to make this place from where you came from. I don't want this place to be Staten Island, New York. The government ruined Staten Island, New York. 25,000 people in 1960 in that little island 7 miles by 12 miles. 500,000 people there. I went back there for 40 days in 2014. I don't want to go back and visit. They destroyed the place that I came from.
So with that, the next video that we'll be doing is going to be about the place you left versus the place we came to when it comes to taxes and the things that go with it. Does that sound good?
Sounds excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
So once again, we have no camera crew.
So we're just going to get up and walk away.
Extensively because you have more control with it, but you have to realize how you're using it. If you put a 1 gallon emitter on a mature tree, it's going to dry up and die on you because you haven't reached the requirements of that tree. You've got to kind of match the environment with the amount of water and the time of water you're putting on there.
Is there any place on the internet where if you're coming into town, you could go look and see information about what to grow and how to grow here?
What you might want to do is stop by the Cooperative Extension Office. It's on the corner of Calvada Boulevard and Dandelion, and they have a Master Gardener program there, and the program there are, well, the Master Gardeners are trained by horticulturists, they're trained by extension people, and they're very adapt to the conditions that are actually growing here in Pahrump. They have a demonstration garden there. It's a unique little place to walk through, and they're very knowledgeable on conditions here, and if they're not, they have the resource through the university that they can probably answer most questions for a person.
You know, on that topic, when we mentioned earlier that these phone books have maps in the front, the 0 point for numbering system is a street called Blagg and Basin.
Correct.
And when you find that numbering street, that point in the map, every major road that's either north-south or east-west is a mile apart from each other. And the numbers run in the thousands. So you'd run from like 0 to 999, you hit the first big road. The next one would be 1,000 to 2,000, that's the next big road. So if you want to figure out where something is and it was west 2010 Blagg, you know it's 2 miles from that center point going west. So if you want to find any place and you've got an address out of that phone book, that's an easy way to do it.
I do want to mention that drip line system again. Bob is and his wife Joan are the only people I know that have a coffee drip line service. You go to their house and that coffee's always brewing and there's a little drip line, you just open the tap and the coffee comes out all the time. I've never seen that before.
Intravenous.
Yeah. But
And pie too.
Yeah, we haven't got to the intravenous, but we do keep the coffee pot. We probably have coffee 367 days a year. That's just a little.
What do you recommend for good coffee?
Good coffee?
Yeah, well, how do you make your coffee and what kind of coffee do you use?
You have to brew it.
By brewing, you mean?
Yeah. Perk it,
Perk it?
drip it. You gotta have coffee grounds somewhere. Somewhere along the line you gotta have coffee grounds.
Well, I had heard that
We don't use
the
beans.
best coffee was made at boiling temperature for
no,
most flavor.
No,
Is that not
the best
true?
temperatures is at whatever Mr. Coffee puts it through. And if that doesn't work, you can try Black & Decker. And if that doesn't work, there's Krups or Kroops or whoever.
I always have to take my coffee cup, which says Terrible's Lakeside Casinos on it, and stick it in the microwave for another 30 seconds before it's warm enough.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, you'll probably sue them too.
yeah, turn your heat selector up.
Another question I've got, Bob. Now, obviously you live here, and you are an RVer here.
Correct.
What brings you here?
What, to the RV park?
Yeah.
Actually, we started here a couple 3 years ago. Is that we're not at retirement age yet, but I didn't want to wait till we retired to decide if we wanted to RV or not. So we thought we'd kind of start early, and now we are monthly residents here at RV Park. We found that why travel 4 or 5 hours when we have one of the best RV parks in the country.
The best in the West, according to
2
one
years
of the
ago,
visitors.
it was rated number 2 in the United States. Last year, it was rated number 8. Now it's number 3. And we were talking to some folks back in, we're over. Okay. South Dakota. Okay.
That's okay, he's running.
He's
Okay.
running. It's okay.
Back in South Dakota a year ago,
He's running.
and
Don't worry about it.
we'll have Lib. I can roll with you. So anyway, South Dakota, and we talked to a couple of RVers back there, and they were regular attenders of Pahrump, of Lakeside, and so it's always kind of amazed us that how extensive the reputation is here.
Well, I'm surprised we're number 3, but as long as we're still doing a show here, when they do the next survey, we'll be number 1.
Of course.
Yeah. And with that, we're about at the end of the show, and this show will not play this week. It'll play the following week in the morning on Channel 30, on Friday at, actually that's in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. Next Friday, and then it'll play again that Sunday. And the show from last week will play Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on Channel 30. Huh?
I think tomorrow morning at 11.
Tomorrow morning at 11, yeah. So anyway, thank you for coming, and we'll see you next show.
Good night. Good afternoon.
Ran out of tape.
That's okay. That's why I got him running 5 minutes after.
Probably be here.
Where are you from?
Well, actually, we're from the United States now. We're
Yeah.
full-timers. We just go everywhere.
Oh, you did.
We don't have a base camp
Oh,
here.
well, that's
We sold our house.
Or in my culture, handshake was good. Or now, if I were to do something today, which we do together all the time, I would say to you, Andy, here's the contract. I owe Andy $5,000.
You heard him.
I will pay Andy $100 a month with 10% interest per annum. You know, okay, there it is. It's written down. Why do you have to have 400 pages to say what I just said? You know what I mean?
Well, you know.
But they say the party of the first part and the party of the second part scratches the butt of the party of the third part. And you figure, how many parts are there?
Well, you're right. It could be handled more so we understand how to live our lives and how to deal with these things. You look at the amount of lawyers coming out of college these days. There's a tremendous amount of people that have just gone into law, and it's not like you pay $50 an hour for a plumber. It's $250, $300 an hour, and a good lawyer, I mean, top notch, is probably $600-800 an hour, maybe more.
Yeah, that's one particular attorney that I know in Vegas. He charges $800 an hour.
Now, see, and you wonder where all the money's going.
Yeah. Well, that's why they have. That's why they create lawsuits like Vioxx, and one of them is getting on Walmart right now because of their hiring practices. Come on, get out of here.
Well, we're getting to a point where government wants to control everything, and why do they? Because that's where the opportunity for more lawsuits are.
But see that
Can't we come down to like 10 basic rules we could follow?
Yeah, like the 10 Commandments.
Well, let's call them right now they're the 10 suggestions. Actually, they're not even the 10 suggestions anymore. They're the 10 things we'd like to tell you about, and if you don't like it, go do what you feel like.
Okay, I don't want to talk about lawyers anymore.
Well, I want to cover one other thing about that, and I got it right here. I'm not a fan of sports. I don't watch sports.
I'm a sports fan.
Well, you'll be interested in this then.
Okay.
Here's a guy named Selig.
Bud Selig.
Selig, okay. It's only got an E in there, so he's the baseball commissioner. Now, the rule in baseball is you can't take drugs and play baseball. Is that the rule?
That's kind
In
of
essence,
simple.
that's the law.
That's kind of simple, yeah.
You can't take steroids because it bulks you up. And I have to say, I used to go to the gym in Chino Hills where Mark McGuire's brother used to work.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I know about that.
Okay.
And my God, this guy had arms on him. It wasn't Mark, it was his brother, so he wasn't even playing baseball. And he had arms on him like, I have skinny legs anyway, so yeah, he was built like Bernie. Only like Bernie could put about 8 of his arms into this guy's bicep. Huge. I mean, I looked at this guy and I thought, man, he's got to be taking something. Nobody just works out and gets that big. So anyway, I'm getting off the subject, but I'm really on target. So the rule is you can't take drugs and play baseball. So here comes the commissioner. He wants stiffer penalties if you take drugs. And what he says is, and I believe everything I read in the newspaper, he says, if you get caught taking steroids, you will be suspended for 50 games.
Is that the first offense?
Yes.
Okay.
And the second offense, we won't bother because you've already been punished enough the first time. And the third time, you won't be able to play ever again. Well, you take a guy who's 35. So the rule is you can't take steroids, but if you take them, you can still play. You just have to take a year off. And then come back and play some more. And then take some more steroids and then take another time off.
Well, they're giving them an out.
Can't the rule be you can't take steroids? If you do and we catch you, you're done. No more career. We don't care whether you make any money or not. You're out of here. To me, that's a rule. The other is a suggestion.
Yep, I agree.
And I guarantee you on the third offense, the lawyer will come in and he'll say, but he didn't understand.
Well, he had a bad childhood.
He didn't, yeah. He didn't realize he was taking steroids in that needle when he shot it in his arm.
Yeah, he thought it was penicillin.
Yeah, he was sleepwalking.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay. I'll buy that.
So maybe we need to get back to rules that we have to follow.
He ate a Twinkie.
Oh my God, yes.
That's right, the
Well,
sugar in the Twinkie.
They only sell those high sugar Twinkies in San Francisco.
I'm not even going to go there. Silly savage you. Okay, we're going to wrap it up now?
Well, I'm just about done here on that subject. And
Give me a fork. Let me stick it in him. Let me see if he's done.
Woohoo. Next time we get together, we're going to talk about car accidents in parking garages.
I thought we've spoken of that before.
We have, but I have some new important information.
Oh, okay. Hey,
I want to impart on the next show.
Okay, I'm game for that. I enjoy a good accident here and there.
And happy sponging. And don't sponge off me.
I'm sponging off of him. Okay, that was a bad
That's
joke.
like an epaulette.
Yeah, it is like an epaulette.
Who the hell is he waving at?
I'm waving to everybody and saying, have a wonderful weekend, have a happy Mother's Day, and see you next time.
And to my wife who's in California this weekend, happy Mother's Day. Can't wait till you get home.
Ciao.